Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have another layout for you today, and this one is using the leftovers that we had from the Autumn to Remember scrapbooking workshops. So if you'll remember, we had a bunch of pieces left over from doing the layouts. So we had a bunch of pieces here that we had left over, and some bigger pieces because we cut out the centers of a couple of the papers that we had so that we could extend this particular workshop a little bit farther. And so what I'm using today is some of those leftovers. So I have some bigger pieces here of the exclusive paper that was part of that workshop. I have some big squares of the paper that we cut out. I believe that this one is, what was the color on this one? I'm just going to bring this back up. Crushed curry, I believe, is what this one is. And then I have some strips that we had cut out that we had left from this one piece of paper. So we're going to use those as well. So these are just 1/2-inch strips. And then what I'm going to bring in is a few different things. I'm going to bring in the Autumn to Remember stamp set that was part of the release for the scrapbooking mini catalog. I'm going to do some stamping with that using pecan pie, cherry cobbler, and crushed curry. We're going to do some inking on some pieces and some distressing. And then the other thing we're going to do is we are going to take the Take a Bow die, and we are going to create a basket using this Take a Bow die as some of the embellishments. So what I'm going to do is clear this off to start with, and we're going to start with the stamping and do a couple of stamping techniques, and then we're going to talk about the layout and doing some distressing and a few other techniques. There's going to be a whole lot of techniques on this particular layout. So let me clear this off, and we will get going with some of the stamping. All right, so I'm going to just be stamping on just white paper. So with I'm using White Daisy, which is the close to my heart paper, but any white cardstock is going to work for this this technique. And the Autumn to Remember stamp set has a number of really cool stamps. It's got this sort of, I don't know, little leaf strip here. It's got leaves, smaller ones, acorns, and again, a few different phrases and things that you can use on your scrapbook layouts as titles. These are photopolymer, and what we're going to do is we're going to do an inking technique. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. One is to do what's called rock and roll. Another one is where I'm going to transfer some ink from the pad onto the stamp itself. Either one of those will work for this. So I'm going to start with the larger maple leaf, and we're going to put that on a block. And I'm going to get a piece of scratch paper as well, because I'm going to do some second generation stamping. I'm just going to clean piece of scratch paper. There we go. And I'm going to set that off to the side just in case I want to use it. All right, so we're just trying to make fall leaves, essentially. This is a fall layout, following up on that. And so I'm going to start with the crushed curry, and I'm going to stamp this, or I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to stamp it off because I don't want it to be quite that strong. And then I'm going to come in with the cherry cobbler. And you can, again, do this one of two ways. You can take your stamp pad and your stamp, and you can roll this along. So you can take it and you can roll the edges to grab some ink on the edges. It's called rock and roll. And you can add just touches of that red or the cherry cobbler onto that that stamp. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to just go ahead and stamp this out. Now this stamp set does not come with a die, so you do have to fussy cut these out. So that's the first one. So let's just do this again. I'm actually going to not do second generation this time. I'm going to go ahead and do first generation. And then the other way that you can do it is you can just take a dauber, go into the cherry cobbler, and you can tap color where you want it on the leaf. And again, you can flip it over because this is a polymer stamp and you can see, do you like the way that looks? And again, we'll stamp this and it's going to give us a little bit of a different look, right? So now we've got sort of two versions of that, that leaf. All right, so again, I'm going to just sort of clean this off just by stamping on my paper. I probably could have done a second leaf there. We'll set that one aside. I decided I wanted to use pecan pie as another colorway on this stamp or on this. And again, I'm going to add a little bit of ink to this. And in this case, again, I could go in with the red or I could go in with the curry, the crushed curry. Let's go ahead and just grab a little bit of red. And again, I'm going to just dab it in a couple of places here. And we'll stamp that. And this one obviously is different because we've got a brown. So we just have a little bit of red there. And I could probably add a little bit of the crushed curry in. We'll see if we can get a second generation out of this. And again, really this is just playing around with the colors and whether or not you're going to do first or second generation. So we'll just see how that one turns out. So then that one is first generation of the crushed curry, but second generation of the pecan pie and the cherry cobbler, which I kind of like. I like that one. That one turned out really nice. So as you can tell, I'm just sort of playing around with these three colors to get some variation in the leaves like you would see in the fall. All right, so the other stamp that I was going to use was this small leaf here. And again, sort of the same process. We're going to go ahead and put that, I'm going to do second generation of this leaf, and I'm going to just use it as brown. I'm just going to use it as pecan pie. And then I might come in again, second generation, and add a little bit of red in a couple of spots. And place that down. And then let's do a crushed curry. And maybe we'll add just a bit of brown to this one using the rock and roll technique. Right? So again, just looking for some variation in color and just trying to see if we can get some interesting combinations. So again, second generation of that crushed curry with some red. So that one I don't like nearly as much. I probably, if I had used the dauber instead, I might have something a little bit nicer, but I don't like that harsh line that I have there. So I might not use that one, or I might cut it or stack it behind something else. All right, so the other leaf that I wanted to also do is this little itty bitty maple leaf as another option. Now this one, I'm probably not going to try and do first and second or adding additional color because it is quite tiny. So I'm probably going to just go into the crushed curry and again, just fill this in some spaces. Again, remember, I've got to fussy cut all of these. So I'm going to just fill in with some space here that I can fussy cut. And maybe I'll grab a red one. I'm going to do second generation or maybe even third generation of the red. crushed curry, because I don't want it to be that strong. And the crushed curry is quite strong, so I'm doing 3rd generation of the crushed, or sorry, the cherry cobbler. The cherry cobbler is very strong. I'm fine with the crushed curry being 1st generation. And I got a bunch of ink on this, so I want to make sure I wipe that off so I don't mess anything up. Okay, so now I've got a couple of those, and maybe I'll do a couple pecan pies in 2nd generation in some of these spaces. All right, so I've got a few of those laid out. Now I might come back with a green for the leaf here, because I do think that leaf could act as a good bridge between colors, or between these leaves. So again, the colors that are in this particular set are, from the green side, are, just double checking, I know one of them is Old Olive, Mossy Meadow, and Old Olive. And I'm thinking Old Olive might be the right color for this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that out. Again, kind of matches the tones and the colors of fall. So let's go ahead and take some of these leaves. Now, these leaves I'm not going to necessarily, I might do in 1st and 2nd generation, just for variety. And we'll do a couple of these to add. Got something on that one, it looks like, but okay. And that way we can tuck these in certain spots. That's probably enough. All right, so that was the first technique that I wanted to show you. So I will fussy cut all of these offline, and get those ready for the layout. All right, so before we move on from this, the other thing that I needed to prep was doing a couple of different die cuts. So as I mentioned, I wanted to use the Take a Bow die, and I wanted to use that to create a basket. So what I did is I took one of my embossing folders. So I have a bunch of different wood grained embossing folders, and I embossed, and I know this is going to be hard to see, but I did emboss it with I tried 2 different ones, the birch and the So Swirly embossing folders. So I tried both of those. And then what I did is I took the Take a Bow die and I cut out all of the pieces from both of those embossing folds. So I embossed it first and then I cut it out. And that's because I didn't want to try and emboss each one of these pieces individually. And then once I did that, I took what was left of my paper, right? I have this piece of the paper that's not embossed, and I cut some strips. So I cut some strips there, 1/4 of an inch wide. And then what I did is I took my pieces from my that came out of the cut of using the embossing fold and the die. So it's been embossed and it's been cut out. And then what I did is I took just this 1/4 inch strip and I created and this one's not going to be long enough. So let's see, I don't think I have another one. Let's just cut a 1/4 inch strip here. And this is mocha from Close to My Heart. So this is mocha paper. It's very close to the early espresso paper that is the Stampin' Up paper. So you can use either one, but this is mocha. So all right, so what I did is I added on top of this, so I line these up together, and then I anchored them essentially using this small strip of paper, and I have lost my scissors. Gotta find my scissors. There they are. We'll get another pair out. Luckily, I've got multiple pairs. And then we're just going to trim this up here. Okay. Then we're going to, again, put some adhesive on this last piece. And we're going to put that at the bottom. So we've created two anchors for these three pieces that came from the Take a Bow die. And then to turn this into a barrel or a basket, all I did was I came in and I trimmed up. So going from the side, I just kind of created a rounded shape, and then I came across flat. And then on the same thing on the other side, I just sort of created a rounded shape. Now this is a little off, so we're going to have to make some trims here. So we're going to go ahead and come back on this side and just take a little bit more off, go flat, and then trim it up. And so then what I ended up with, I felt, was a pretty good approximation to a basket or to a barrel, however you want to look at it. And again, it has a little bit of texture, which I know is really hard to see on this mocha paper. It doesn't come through very well, but there's a little bit of texture from the embossing folder. And all I did was just use these pieces next to each other and then trimmed up the bottom to create that barrel look or that basket look. So I was pretty happy with the effect on that. All right, so now that I've done that, the other thing that I did is I pulled in, I thought, okay, well, what am I going to put in my basket or in my barrel? And so what I decided to do is I just took the Stylish Shapes circle dies. If you have any circle die, this will work. You don't have to do anything fancy. You just need a circle die. This happens to have stitching along it, and if you don't like that look, just create a circle. And what I did is I took those two sizes, and I created apples. And this is from Close to My Heart again. This is Candy Apple. This one is Sundance, and this one I think is Limeade, if I'm correct in all of my things. But again, the colors are really close to the colors that we've been working with, and I'm just using my stock. I'm not trying to buy anything that I don't need. I need to work through my cardstock, and so that's why I'm just using up what I have. So the mocha, and then the Candy Apple, Sundance, and Limeade. And so what I did is I cut out the circles, one big one small one, and then I sort of created my own apple. And I did that by doing a slit, just cutting down at one part of the circle, and then rounding it in to where it ended. Now, it doesn't look quite perfect. It's kind of lopsided. This one's probably a little bit cleaner. That one's not too bad. So all I was trying to do is create the illusion of that indent that you see in an apple. And then again, I took some of my leftover little strips of the mocha, and I created stems for these. So yeah, just again, trying to use some of the tools that I have and the papers that I have to create some of these elements that I am going to put on the page. All right, so now that we've done all of that, we've got all of that prepped, I'm going to go ahead and pull in now the other pieces, and we're going to do some paper distressing and some inking on the base page layers that we're going to use for this layout. And I'll be right back after I clear all this off. Okay, so on the base page, I've got these two pieces that, again, were the remnants or the scraps from the previous layouts that I did. But as I was thinking about the layout and how I wanted it to look or feel, I felt like these pages were a little bit too neat and tidy, maybe are the best ways to describe it. I wanted to grunge it up a bit. And so one of the ways that I can do this, the way that I'm going to have this layout, there's going to be, these are going to be sitting in the middle of the white pieces of paper, and then the white base pages, and then these are going to be flush to the left side and the right side. So it's going to be, these are centered, and then these are these papers that are the wood grain papers are going to be in the middle there, or to the insides of the layout. So what I want to do is I actually want to just rough up this paper. Now this does have, this is the the new two-toned cardstock. This is crushed curry that we have here. And so what I want to do is I do want to, again, do a bit of roughing, and I'm just going to take my scissors to do this, and I'm going to just run this across the edge. Now, because this is the new paper, or if you're using close to my heart paper, you will be able to do this. We've got the white core. Now, it's going to look roughed up either way. If you have, if you only have the solid core paper, that's fine as well. So, but I just want to give this more of a rough feel. And again, my scissors are closed, and I'm just rubbing it on the edges here to give it that roughness or that rougher texture. If you have a distressing tool, you can do that as well. That works. And again, you can take out pieces of it if you like a really rough look. I don't tend to go for that. You could also curl this and do some tearing to give it, again, a more grungy or rough feel. But I just want to rough up these edges just a bit, just to give it, again, I'm just looking for some texture and for some less than clean lines, I guess is the best way to describe it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this. As you can see, it's going to take me a couple of minutes here, or not a couple of minutes. It take me a little bit of time to get all the way around all four edges of this and to get it the way I like. And I might come back and do a little bit more on one side here. So again, hopefully you can kind of see the roughing of that being done. Okay, so I'll finish that. The other piece that I wanted to do is I needed to make this feel like it had more depth. This feels very flat, even though it's got a pattern on it and, you know, it's got some texturing on it, but it's still, when it was laying on the page, it just felt very flat. And so one of the things that you can do is use ink to make it feel less flat. And so the color of this paper is gray granite, according to the what I looked at from the color code, the colors on the back of this paper pack. So this is, I'm just pulling out the exact same color, and I'm going to again grab a little ink dauber. Again, you could do this with a sponge. You could do it with a brush. A brush isn't going to be nearly as effective doing this. You can even just run it through the ink like this, directly to the pad. But I'm going to go ahead and grab some ink, and we're going to ink this up. So I'm going to just go around the edges, and this is just going to add, again, some depth to this by creating some shadows. And that shadow is what gives the eye the illusion that it is got depth. So again, you can grunge this up or add as much as you want in places, and in some places you can go really further into the paper itself to again give it some dimension and texture instead of just doing the edge. I didn't quite mean to do that. That was a little bit too far in. But again, we'll probably be covering that piece up with something. All right, so once I get through doing this on both the pieces, then we can start assembling with all of our elements. So I'm going to go finish this off camera. You don't need to watch me do this for a few minutes, and I will come back and we will start the assembly process for this layout. Okay, so I have done all of my distressing, both with the scissors on the paper, as well as the distressing with the ink on the specialty paper. So we're going to start doing some assembly here. So I am going to go ahead and start, and I'm actually probably going to do both sides at the same time for this, just to not necessarily speed it up, but just to have it make sure that we're being balanced in the layout. So I am using some close to my heart paper. This is the very vanilla. Let's see, what is this called? Sorry, I should know this one, but I don't. French vanilla. So I am using French vanilla as the base. Just because I felt like the white was a little bit too stark for this. So I did go ahead and go with the French vanilla. All right, so I am just putting this at about 3/4 of an inch in and 3/4 of an inch down. And I'm just eyeballing this to make sure that I got that. So we've got that piece. Okay, so this piece is the next piece, and this piece is going to, like I said earlier, is going to sit at the edge of the French vanilla here. It's not going to sit in the middle, it's sitting off to the side. And again, I'm trying to get this even, so I'm coming down 1.25 inches on this, and then I just want to make sure that I've got this butted up against this right edge. And that yeah, a little bit off on this end here. All right, so there we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so then we're going to do the same thing on this right side. So again, we're going to do our best to center this. Oops. My paper moved a little bit here, so let's get that down. Like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do 3/4, 3/4. Again, I could get my T-square out, but I think that's good enough. So pick this piece and put that down at that 1.5, or sorry, 1.25 from the top, 1.25 from the bottom, roughly, and butt it up against that edge, that left edge. Okay, so now that we've got that down, now we're going to start placing our photos and our embellishments. So the way that I thought about this is that I wanted to have a couple of different pictures here, like this, and a 3x3 down here. So this was sort of my placement of my photos, and creating sort of this grid on the left and then sort of this offset on the right hand side. And almost all of these are put up on 3D foam tape. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and adhere these guys down so that I can then start placing the embellishments. And again, I'm just eyeballing where I want this. I'm probably about 1/4 of an inch down on the patterned paper here. And then I'm going to line this one up with that, again, about 1/4 of an inch between those two. I'm going to do the one down below first because I want to set that in line with the 3x4 that's above it. And again, we're going to do about 1/4 of an inch here. And then we're going to do 1/4 of an inch on this side, which hopefully will line up with the edge of the 4x6. Like that. Okay. So now that we've got that in place, we're not gonna pay attention to this right side just yet. We're gonna come back to that. So I wanted to bring in some of my embellishments. So I'm bringing in that basket or that basket, I guess is the best thing to call this. So this is what I wanted as a big embellishment here. I've got my 3 apples, and so those I'm going to place in my basket, like so. And then I had this sticker, enjoying the last days of summer, and I thought that worked really nicely on the top of that basket. And then I've got a couple of the leaves that I stamped that I thought I would put in here. So that was the first embellishment. The second embellishment is I took from the stamp set, I took this stamp here and I stamped it twice. And what I did is when you have these long strips, you are able, and we'll just take this as an example, you are able to bend this on your stamp block. So when you place it, you can curve it around and create an oval or a circle, depending, and again, this block is a little bit too small for this, but this will allow you to create a shape. And so what I did is I stamped it and then I turned it over and I stamped it again. So that allowed me to create this oval shape on my piece of cardstock there. And then I did the same thing on the other side, but this one is a little bit more of a circle. The other one is a bit more of an oval. And so I thought what I wanted to do was add this kind of up in this corner, like so. And then I have a bunch of the leaves that I have fussy cut. Okay, and I'm going to put these in around this piece, sliding them under and just creating a little vignette here. Got some greenery. I think we're gonna switch these guys around. I'm gonna put this one down here. I want to bring it down a little bit to have a little bit of a connection. So I think we'll go like that. And like I said, I got some greenery, and then I've got some little pieces here that we can tuck in. So again, just trying to frame this corner a little bit and creating a little bit of interest, not only with just this piece, but also with the leaves. All right, so that's the left side. The right side, I'm going to put down this first photo mat. And we're going to again come down about 1/4 of an inch here and come in about a little less than 1/4 of an inch. I think we're going to do about 1/8 of an inch on that side, because I do want to put this piece, I want to put this photo mat at an angle. But I don't like covering my photos too much. I just want it to, but I don't want it to overlap too much on that left side either. So, and then I've got this little 3x3 that I'm going to put here. And again, this can be, that doesn't have a lot of space. I might move this guy up just a smidge. Let me just play around with that a little bit. I feel like it needs a little bit more eye space. So I think we're going to do 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8. This one can stay where it is. I just need to put it underneath there. All right, so I think that works fine. Okay, so now that we've got that there, I have another basket that I created to put on the right hand side, because the things I do on the left, I don't necessarily want to mimic them, but in this case I ended up doing that with a smaller basket. Normally I just want to make sure that I've got colors or patterns that are the same on both sides, which actually reminds me, I did forget to put on this strip. So I wanted to use this strip as a transition piece. So we need to add that in. I almost forgot about that. And that's going to help us with that transition from the patterned paper to the solid paper. And again, just give us another eye spot to land. So I want to just make sure that I've got that lined up, and then we want to put that, I'll put that on the other side as well before I adhere everything down. So, okay, now that I've got that down, then I'm going to bring my other basket here, and I've got, again, my apples that I'm going to put into the basket. And then in this case, what I did is I took that vine pattern and I've actually made it as a journaling spot. And I'm going to go ahead and put a few pieces here. Again, I'm going to bring in some of these leaves. And then I have a whole bunch of leaves that I'm going to sort of scatter around, coming down the page here. Just like they're falling leaves, essentially, is the thought. And adding in the green parts to break up some of the yellows and browns and reds that are here. And really just kind of creating a falling leaf pattern is what I was trying to do here. So something like that. And again, sort of framing this picture a little bit, just like we framed the picture on that left-hand side. All right, so that is the basics of the layout here. I actually have 2 mushrooms as well that are left over from the die cut sheet. So I think I'll use those as well on this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adhere all the rest of this down, and we'll come back and look at the finished product. All right, so I've gotten everything here down now on this layout. I've created the clusters in the upper left-hand corner with the leaves. I've adhered down the basket with the apples, and then I've created the cluster of the sort of falling leaves over on the right-hand side. So the last thing that I kind of want to talk about, and I'll go through again all of the details and get these up a little bit closer so that you can see them, is I'm going to take the cherry cobbler and I'm actually going to add a couple of stamped images onto this layout. So I'm going to just take from, again, the Autumn to Remember, this small maple leaf. I'm going to just grab that, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to use the cherry cobbler. I am going to stamp off, I want second generation on this. And so I'm going to just sort of shift things a little bit here. And I'm going to do second generation because I don't want that much ink. And I'm going to just lightly scatter a few of these maple leaves to kind of fill in a little bit on this layout. Didn't quite get that. Got to be careful. I've got some ink on the edges of that, so I want to just be a little bit careful that I don't get that on my layout. And I think I'm going to grab a paper towel, wipe that off because I didn't get a good image because of that. One of the things that I've noticed with the Stampin' Up! Pads is that you have to be very gentle when you add ink. They're very juicy, at least when you first get them. And so they're a little bit juicier than I'm used to. And I sometimes push down a little bit too hard on the pad to get the ink on it. And you don't need to push that hard. Right. Maybe do one there. Oh, shoot. There we go. I want to get this guy better. There we go. Let's see. Let's do one up here. Maybe one. Whoops, I got some more ink on that again. Like I said, I feel like these pads are super juicy. You do not need much pressure at all to get ink on it, on your stamp for the most part. And maybe one more up there at the top. Up here, maybe. Like that. All right. So again, just a few scatterings on that right-hand side, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this left-hand side. I'm going to just add a couple of these just sort of scattered around this layout. And then what I'll do is I'll bring this up so that everyone can kind of see what I've done. All right, let's just do maybe one more. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of ink on this, so I really do want to clean it up. I don't want any streaks or any sort of strange pieces here. Just trying to decide if there's any place else I want to add one, maybe right there. Okay, all right, I think that's good. I think that's enough. All right, so we'll put this away. And so let me just bring this up to show you what we have so far. So again, I've got that piece of that circle that I created using the leaf part of the stamp set and created a curve. And then just cut that out. I've layered up all of the various different pieces that I cut out from that stamp set as well. Added, again, a few leaves sort of falling. You can see the texture that I've added by using the scissors to rough up the paper, as well as the texture that I've added by inking up the specialty paper. I did add a sticker, Unforgettable, here, was one of the word stickers. And then I used the title, Enjoying the Last Days of Summer, on top of my little basket. I added the mushroom that was part of the die cut sheet. here. And then again, we've got our apples and a few little leaves. And then on the right hand side, again, very similarly, we've just taken all of those leaves and just sort of created this falling leaf pattern here, and then just added in those stamped images. And then down at the bottom, I added memories to keep on top of the basket. And then I layered in some more leaves, and that's a sticker from the sticker sheet, a little journaling block, and then I've added the apple with, again, the little mushroom there. So those are a lot of the embellishments and everything. And then I was going through my stash, and I have these adhesive back sparkle gems, and I thought that I would add a few of these as well, just to add some sparkle. And what I realized is that I think I needed a little bit of black with this, so I'm actually going to use these black sparkle gems. Though I think the clear and the sort of more golden ones would also work. But I just feel like just adding, you know, a touch of black on this will be really pleasing for the eye. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to just sort of randomly place a few of these gems kind of in this motif or this vignette. One of the things I always struggle with the gems is getting them off of the paper or off of the carrier sheet. And I just want a few kind of falling down with these leaves over here on this side. Maybe just one more here. Oops, not quite there. That's not where I want it. Right about there. Okay. And then, of course, when I do something on one side, I want to do it on the other side. There are two sizes of these gems. I'm using the smaller size, and I'm going to put these in a triangle shape here. And then maybe add a couple down here at the bottom. Like that. And maybe one up there. Okay, so I think that's plenty. I think that's good. All right, so that is our final layout where we've again added our leaves from the Autumn to Remember. We've used the Take a Bow die to create our basket, and we used just a circle die to create the apples. So just a standard, this was the everyday, the stylish shapes circle die. And we have inked and distressed the papers to give it a more, a little bit more grunginess, a little bit more texture and depth of visual interest to this page. So hopefully you guys got a bunch of different ideas of how you might be able to use the papers. I have a little bit of paper left in this kit, and so I think I can get one more layout out of that paper that I have left from the Autumn scrapbooking workshop. And so I will be back on my last video in this series to walk you through how to use up that last bit of scraps. If you have any comments or questions about the layout, just let me know, drop the comments. And if you like this one, I'd love to have a like. I always like it when people have enjoyed the video and just give me a nice little thumbs up. All right, everyone, have a great day. I look forward to seeing you on my next video.